All right, and we are ready to go. So welcome to everyone. Welcome to DPAC, our chair Eugene Javier. He's not able to make it tonight, so I'll be chairing the meeting. Give me one technical moment. Okay, so I'll now call the meeting to order. It's 7:03. And we would like to acknowledge and are grateful that the work of DPAC and our PACs takes place on the traditional and unceded territories of the Halkminum-speaking people of the Katzie First Nation and the Kwantlen First Nation. And we also recognize all of our First Nations, Métis, Inuit students and their families in our school communities. So welcome to all. It's good that we are all here. And included in the PowerPoint, which will go out later, also is it's a brief video. It's about 2.5 minutes on the importance of territorial acknowledgement, the protocol for that, and that was put together by Fraser Health. So I'd encourage you to click on that link just to see that. It's a very brief video, but it shows the importance of why we do the territory acknowledgement at the beginning of our meetings. So we did put out an agenda. Unfortunately, of course, we've been running around crazy trying to get last minute stuff together, and it didn't come out until like an hour and a half ago. So if you haven't got it, if you're able to see that there, we have the agenda. We have the March minutes that are done and out that need to be approved, but they didn't go out till late, so we could put that over to the next meeting if somebody would like when we get to the motion on it. The April ones aren't done yet, but they will be all caught up to date by June. Tonight we welcome Vicky Halabi, who will be making a presentation on understanding secondary assessments in SD42. We have our Longtime Parent Volunteer Service Award that we do every year at this time, usually at our PAC Appreciation Dinner, but hopefully we'll have a dinner next year. And then we have a brief presentation on PAC 101 Treasurer type stuff. It's a Coles Notes version of stuff. We hope to expand on that over the next months or so, but just some idea for new PACs or new executives that may be coming in, or old ones refreshing some information on best practices and some hints. And then we have Shannon Dorinzi, Mike Murray. I see Martin's here as well. QP, and then we're going to be talking about the nominations for the DPAC executive positions that'll be coming up. Amanda from Yenid and PAC will be our nominations committee. We've been very busy. We've served as an acting nominating committee for a number of PACs already in SD42, so we're thankful to Yenid for doing the same. And then we have our BC, and then what we did add to the original one that was distributed was a BCC PAC AGM report that we'll provide. So we have that. So that's the agenda that we have as presented with the minor addition there. And this will be for DPAC reps only to vote in the poll. Tanya, are you able to pull up the poll? First, can I get a mover that the agenda be adopted as presented? Okay, mover and a seconder, thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the question. So those in favor, those opposed, and those who wish to abstain, please enter into the poll. We'll give it 5 more seconds. All right, so we will close the poll. So, Tanya, if you could end the polling, please, and share the results. And we have all in favor, and the motion is carried. So thank you. And then we have the approval of the March 11 minutes. First, I'll get a mover on that motion. If I could have someone move that motion. Sorry, I can't see everyone. Even if you just unmute or something and say it out loud. Oh, we got one mover and a seconder. I see Katie's moved it. We just need a seconder then. Got a seconder. Great. Any discussion on the March 11 minutes that were only put out like very recently? Okay, seeing none, we will call the question. Okay, I think we have all our reps voting in favor. So we'll close the poll then and share it. And the motion is carried. Thank you very much. And we still don't have the April minutes are still not done, but like I said earlier, we will have that all wrapped up by the end of the year. So I'll introduce myself. If you don't know me already, you're probably grateful, but I'm Chris. I'm the recording secretary for SD42 DPAC, and I'm filling in for Eugene tonight. I think I've already said enough before. And now I'd like to introduce Vicky Halabi, who's going to be making a presentation to understanding secondary assessments in SD42. And I will let Vicky, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll let Vicky take over. So thank you, Vicky, and welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to come and share how things are evolving in our secondary schools with regard to assessment and reporting. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So what you see in front of you right now is typically and traditionally how marks were quite often accumulated and processed at the secondary level for a long time. And if you take a look at Johnny's work and Susie's work, you can see that there's some differences there. And how might you add up those marks and come up with a percentage or a grade for those students? If we take a little bit of a closer look, we can see Johnny's probably not too much into doing homework and his quizzes are kind of okay, but he does really, really well on tests. In fact, he gets about a 93% average. And he sort of puts in some minimal effort with his projects. On the other hand, we have Susie, who is very diligent, gets her work done and is a high achiever and does all her homework. Her quizzes are well done, her tests, although perhaps not as high as Johnny, and puts everything into doing a beautiful project. So really the important question is the second question. What do we actually understand about what these particular students know and can do by providing an averaged percentage at the end? So we've worked hard in high schools to not conflate achievement with behavior. Behavior is important, but if marks go up and down because of things like forgetting a change of clothes and physical health education or arriving late to class, especially when those behaviors are not the fault of the child, what is the percentage, letter grade, or even the level of proficiency telling us? We've also worked hard to move away from averaging marks to looking at the most recent and consistent level of achievement. Does it really matter that a child could not perform the skill in September when they can perform it brilliantly by the end of the course? So I'm going to take you on a brief journey looking at why the communication of student learning is evolving in SD42. So we'll look very briefly at the curriculum, a little bit at research, the importance of feedback over grading, the importance of lifelong learners, and then we'll end by looking at the BC Ministry reporting policy changes. So when we discuss the communication of student learning, of course, this includes report cards and parent-teacher interviews, but it also includes timely emails, phone conversations, online portfolios, and simply feedback given on student work that they can share with you at home. And we encourage ongoing dialogue between families and schools. It's also important to note that teachers are in transition regarding their assessment practice and that you'll experience a continuum of movement towards the goals that I'm going to discuss with you today. So on the screen, this is a learning target from Life Sciences 11, or what we used to call Biology 11. So consider social, ethical, and environmental implications of the findings from their own and others' investigations. How would you assess student work using a ratio, such as 15 out of 20? Or how would you assign a percent from 1 to 100? That's pretty challenging when it comes to complex thinking skills such as this. What we can do is provide verbal and written feedback that allows students to progress along a continuum, and when communicating where a student is on the continuum, to use a simple proficiency scale. This is an example from grade 9 social studies. Assess and defend a variety of positions on a problem, an issue, or a topic. What's being asked of a student here is to look at a piece of history or a social issue from different perspectives and provide evidence to support these perspectives. So how do we apply points to a skill such as this without trivializing or reducing the skill itself? There's a tremendous amount of research that undergirds the movement that the ministry is making in in assessment and reporting. And I've just chosen 3 of them to talk about with you today. So one of them is that grades tend to reduce student interest in learning. Another one is that grades tend to reduce students' preference for challenging tasks. So grades are quite often used as a carrot and a stick. External rewards tend to reduce learning to hoop jumping in order to get a B or an A, and reduces risk taking. Why would a child take a risk if they might get something wrong? And if given a choice, why choose the more challenging and even interesting task if the student can choose something that they're already proficient at in order to receive an A? Several studies have uncovered this statistic over and over since the 1970s. This is a quote that I pulled from one of those studies. Students of all ages who have been led to concentrate on getting a good grade are likely to pick the easiest possible assignment if given a choice. And I do want to say that that's a tendency. That's certainly not true of every child. We also know that student choice and agency supports engagement and growth. The third area of research is that grades tend to reduce the quality of students' thinking. So students given numerical grades were significantly less creative than those who received qualitative feedback, but no grades. The highest achievement occurred only when comments were given instead of numerical scores. And more recently, the same statistic was found by Dylan William. Studies have been completed to show that growth and achievement, especially creative, more sophisticated thinking, occurs to the greatest degree when only feedback is given in comparison to grades only or grades with feedback. And this is simply because the students aren't impeded by the grade. So we are required to provide some type of aggregate level of achievement that we communicate to parents. What the ministry has developed is a proficiency scale that is to be accompanied by descriptive feedback and next steps for learning. But what does that term aggregate actually mean when we talk about a level of proficiency? It's so important to know that students learn a wide variety of knowledge and skills in the various subject areas, and they may be developing in some, proficient in others, and perhaps even extending in a few. So the aggregate is the overall level of proficiency. And that's why it's so important that we give strength-based descriptive feedback. What can the students do? This is very empowering to both the struggling and the high-achieving student. This is a quote that was pulled from Dylan's studies. When the classroom culture focuses on rewards, gold stars, grades, or class ranking, then students look for ways to obtain the best marks rather than to improve their learning. One reported consequence is that when they have any choice, students avoid difficult tasks. And this is an eloquent quote from Marcus Schultz-Bergen. Grades end learning opportunities by essentially saying, "This is done." Feedback continues the conversation. The thing is, though, the most convincing evidence to support a move towards competency-based grading and proficiency scales is the actual feedback that we've gotten from teachers that have embraced the change and witnessed a remarkable shift in student understanding of where they're learning in the continuum and being able to articulate their next steps for learning. So teachers that have transformed their assessment practice by carefully articulating feedback and next steps for learning, despite the effort that this takes, they tell me that they're rewarded by the growth that they've seen in their students. After all, the ultimate goal is to develop lifelong learners, kids that can self-assess and self-reflect, set goals, and understand where they are in the learning journey in attaining those goals. In other words, develop growth mindset, take risks, and learn from their mistakes. This is a beautiful quote taken from Costa and Kallick. We must constantly remind ourselves that the ultimate purpose of evaluation is to have students become self-evaluating. If students graduate from our schools, still dependent upon others to tell them that they're adequate, good, or excellent, then we've missed the whole point of what education is about. So I'm wondering, before I go on to some of the changes that we've put in place, are there any questions that anybody would like to ask? Okay. I'm not very good at wait time when I'm presenting to adults. So I'll go on then, and I'll continue with where we are with the changes with the ministry. So here's the proficiency scale. It's currently being used by many of our grade 8 and 9 teachers. It's used on the numeracy assessment and the literacy assessment. And next year, when the students write the graduation literacy assessment 12, this is the same proficiency scale that will be used for that as well. To start, I'll provide you with an overview of what's been occurring in our school district for the past 3 years, and also that these changes will come into effect in September of 2022 for all school districts in the province. For kindergarten to grade 12, many school districts such as Vancouver, Nanaimo, and South Okanagan, to name a few, have already fully implemented these changes. So this is an overview of what's happening with our kindergarten to grade 9 students, and I'm going to be focusing on our grade 8 and 9 students right now. So next year, the schools will be using semesters, and so they'll have 4 courses that will end in January, and then 4 courses that will start again in February and end in June. And so what you will see is you'll see a report card, or what we call a point of progress, come out partway through. That'll give a snapshot of student achievement. And then, of course, at the end of that particular course, in the end of January and in the end of June. Now, along with that, for the teachers that are reporting out using the proficiency scale, they have to communicate by giving strength-based descriptive feedback and next steps for learning. And that's both for the point of progress and then again summatively at the end of the course. At least twice, they have to include descriptive feedback on student and engagement and behavior. If you remember that a lot of the report cards traditionally had work habits, they had like an S or a G, or I think like it was an N for needs improvement. We're not going to be having that anymore. The teachers will instead provide a statement that's more, gives you a little bit more information about the students' behavior and engagement. And at least once, the students have to do a self-reflection of the core competencies. So let's start by taking a deep dive into the proficiency scale, because this is usually when parents talk to me about their concerns, this is the area that they're concerned with. After all, we're used to letter grades and percentages. That's what we grew up with in high school, and most of our parents did as well. So what exactly does this proficiency scale mean? A wonderful analogy was developed by a current class of grade 8s at Pitt Meadows Secondary School, and it compares the proficiency scale to an ice cream sundae. Everyone's eating ice cream. What changes is the complexity of the sundae. The goal with assessing on the proficiency scale is on the learning, the growth, and next steps, as opposed to reaching for a discrete number or letter. So at the emergent level, the ministry describes us as an initial understanding of the concepts and competencies. We send a letter out to all of our grade 8 and 9 parents to further describe what that means. So students that are emerging are just beginning to develop their understanding and skills relevant to a particular subject area. They often need direction and assistance to initiate and complete tasks that demonstrate their learning. They can be below or just at grade level when they are emerging. This is a poster that many of our teachers have in their classrooms. And it states, I'm just beginning to learn this concept. I'm at the start of my learning. And most kids learn how to ride a bike. And so we use that as our analogy there. And you can see here in the diagram that there's training wheels on the bicycle. At the grade 10 to 12 level, Although at the end of the course, the teachers still need to give a percentage and a letter grade. Many of them are still using the proficiency scale to assess student learning. And many kids in grades 10 to 12 are also learning how to drive a car. So it's a perfect analogy for that age level. At the emerging level, students are actually not driving the car yet. They're preparing to get their learner's license. They're learning, where's the gas pedal? Where's the brakes? How do I turn right and left? What are those signs at the side of the road? So at this point, they need a lot of help in order to be able to drive that car. At the developing stage, the ministry describes this as a partial understanding, and we've embellished this further by saying when students develop their skills and understanding, they practice and improve their ability to demonstrate their knowledge individually and consistently. This is a really challenging time of growth and development that most students will experience as new concepts and skills are introduced. And what we've found is that developing is the level of proficiency that we find most parents to have the difficulty in understanding. And that's because many of our elementary teachers are converting to use the proficiency scale as well. Many of them are using the performance standards, and the second level there states that they are minimally meeting expectations. And what that means for those students is that quite often they might need an educational assistant. Maybe they need to be tested and they need a lot of help. And this is not what developing means at the secondary level. All kids are developing at some point. Depending on their prior knowledge and the type of things that are happening at home, maybe they might come in once in a while being proficient at a brand new concept introduced, but usually not. Some kids might be developing for a very short period of time, and some students might be developing for a longer period of time, but it's a perfectly natural place to be when new concepts are introduced. We can see here that the training wheels are off, and I love the idea that this is, I'm working on getting better, I'm practicing, I have a partial understanding, and I'm working towards proficiency. If we use the analogy of learning to drive a car, it would be the same as having their learner's license. They can drive a car, but with assistance. And we know there's a huge difference between a young person that's getting behind the wheel for the first time and one that's ready to take their driving test. Sometimes they may need to take the driving test a second time or a third time, using the feedback from the driving instructor to practice and improve before trying again. And then we have proficient. The ministry describes this as a complete understanding. However, we like to describe it as that these students can independently and consistently demonstrate their learning. This complete doesn't mean perfect. It means consistent and independent. And of course, if a student has an IEP and they need a scribe or they need a reader, if they can independently and consistently demonstrate their learning with that scribe or with that reader, they are proficient as well. So with the driving analogy, these students now have their driver's license and they can drive without supervision. And then finally, we come to extending. So when we talk about extending, here the student has a sophisticated understanding. But what does that term sophisticated actually mean? When students begin to extend their knowledge, they apply what they've learned to new and different situations. They're creative, insightful, and strategic. They can also evaluate their learning and provide evidence for their learning. You can see here from the poster that many teachers have in their classroom that they can synthesize and apply their thinking in a new way or produce an innovative product. Using the driving analogy, these students are the race car drivers or the four-wheel drivers, or perhaps they're the designers of the vehicles themselves. So every once in a while, a parent may see an I on a report card, and in the new reporting policy, it will read IE. And this stands for insufficient evidence of learning. In these rare cases, students are either not attending school or they're so disengaged that the teachers don't have enough evidence to assess their learning. We can't really say that they're emerging because they could be brilliant. We actually don't know. And an I is only used on the progress report or the interim report, as some of you may know it. If by the end of the course, the particular student still hasn't engaged, then the level of proficiency is left blank and the teacher only provides written feedback. However, in these rare cases, the family have been connected with well before the end of the course. In other words, it's not a surprise for the parents. So along with that proficiency scale, teachers provide strength-based descriptive feedback. An example at the emergent level could be something like, with my help, Tanya can locate material and retell a few pieces of key information. Or at the extending level, it could be, Peter can critically and creatively reflect on, revise, and edit his writing. Along with that, though, what's crucial is that we include next steps for learning, because it helps students and parents understand a key component to learning that can be acted on so that the student can continue to grow and learn. So, for example, Fred will develop his ability to argue why something should be considered significant when he uses evidence to back up his opinion. That could be an example of next steps for learning. Or Mary will develop her ability to synthesize ideas when she begins to use more than one or two sources to build her understanding. So these are the types of things that you can expect to see on report cards. Finally, behavior and engagement. We prefer to describe this as attributes for success. And we know that effort and perseverance, resilience, initiative, participation, organization, even something as simple as punctuality can either undermine or enhance a student's ability to be successful in the classroom. And for this reason, although we don't want to conflate where a student is on the proficiency scale with behavior and engagement, communication with families regarding these characteristics is crucial. So what I have for you here, this is what we call the standards-based report card. And what has been happening up until this point is that teachers that are reporting out using the proficiency scale are using the standards-based report card, and teachers that are still using letter grades are using the traditional report card. And so parents have had to access two different report cards for various subjects at the high school level. Now, next year, our hope is that we will be able to combine this on one report card, on what we call a multi-term report card that has the capability to show either letter grades or the proficiency level. Next year, some of our high schools may have all of their grade 8 teachers communicating student learning with the proficiency scale, while others may still remain mixed. And this is a year of transition as we work towards September of 2022, when all teachers of grade 8 and 9 students will be using the proficiency scale, next steps for learning, and comments on behavior and engagement. I'm just going to go stop sharing here for a minute and show you what this other report card looks like. So this is the report card that is, it's called a multi-term report card. As you can see, there's a description of the proficiency scale up at the top. And then below for ADST or metalwork, this is a student in grade 9 wearing metalwork. The teacher is still using letter grades. You can see that there is a term and a final and comments. And of course, this is scrambled because we don't want to be showing an actual report card of a student. Whereas in English Language Arts 9, in mathematics, the teachers are using the proficiency scale for both the term and the final and provide this descriptive feedback with next steps for learning and a comment on behavior and engagement. So that in a nutshell is how things are changing at the high school level. And I'll stop sharing and I would love to take any questions that you may have. Sure, Mike. Mike, I think you're still muted. There's a little button down on the left-hand side that you can click on, and that will unmute you. There
I've
you
got it. Okay. Sorry, you touched on this a little bit, and it's the importance of flexibility and being able to demonstrate demonstrate your learning. So a student might excel in certain aspects of being able to demonstrate learning, but just really have trouble with testing and that sort of thing.
go.
How does that play into all of this?
Well, this is where I was talking about an aggregate level of proficiency. So, and this is where that descriptive feedback is so important, because it's important to point out where a student's strengths are, along with next steps for learning and ways for that student to improve. When you see the level of proficiency, the teacher looks overall to see where that student is, but we know they can be on the continuum at different levels for different concepts and skills.
I did have a quick follow-up question. It just has to do with how, in a particular area of study, mastery of one level may be required in order to move successfully into the next level. And I guess I'm wondering about at what point are students encouraged to maybe carry on with the initial level before moving on to the next. If they're not quite at the point where maybe the majority of kids are in moving on. I don't want to call it failing a grade, but in my day, that's what it was called. But at the same time, thinking of it more in terms of helping somebody understand and obtain sufficient skills to be able to be successful at the next level. How is that managed in this system?
Okay, so at the grade 8 and 9 level, what we usually do is we recommend that a student attend summer school so that they have a little bit more time to attend to those skills that they need to develop. And at the grade 10 to 12 level, every effort is made to help students be successful. But at the grade 10 to 12 level, sometimes students may not be successful enough to continue perhaps let's say from physics 11 to physics 12, and may choose then to repeat physics 11 if it's really important to them that they continue in the sciences for whatever goals or dreams they may have after secondary school.
And if you have an IE somewhere along the way, insufficient evidence, obviously you're not able to provide any feedback.
Yeah, those are very rare cases. They're primarily students that are not attending, and usually those students are brought forward to school-based teams, counselors, administrators, and a lot of people are brought together in order to be able to help those students be successful in school. There could be a lot of outside circumstances that are stopping that child from attending and from engaging when they're in school.
So what you're sharing is that this system is really intended to focus on strengths and skills of a student and to muster resources around that student to try and help them succeed.
Yes, absolutely.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
There's a question in the chat.
Okay, I'll take a look at the chat. Okay, I'm curious, just a second, I just need to close something to be able to read that. Okay, I'm curious as to how this grading system ends with grade 12 transitions to post-secondary. Yeah, that is a very good question that comes up quite often. So at the grade 10 to 12 level, their final cumulative assessment still needs to have a percentage and a letter grade. And that is to enable them to carry on to post-secondary at this point. Although many post-secondary institutions are now changing the way that they assess and are more open, especially places like Kwantlen University, more open to looking at portfolios and a broader assessment of a student's achievement other than just a letter grade and a percentage. But at this point, the new policy will still state that students need to have a percentage in letter grade by the end of grade 12.
And I'll ask a question too.
Mm-hmm.
I really see how, like, going through the whole thing, I know it's geared to secondary, but I also see how I can apply those same tools within my own kids and my own family, my own family unit, let alone, at school. And is there something similar at the elementary level? Obviously not to the same degree, but is there a similar kind of thing at the elementary level?
I believe that they're applying the same concepts at the elementary level. They're also transitioning to use the proficiency scale, and I believe that there are many teachers that are using it right now. So I think that you'll see, and it'll be really nice to have this continuum all the way from kindergarten to grade 9. And we've actually worked quite hard to work with the elementary assessment committee. We've met together a couple of times now, both the elementary and the secondary assessment committees, to provide a smoother transition for students in grade 7 into grade 8.
Yeah, and I think this whole thing is actually really, really helpful because more and more employers are not looking, depending on the field that you're going into, they're not looking at whether you got 85% or 92%. They want to know, can you learn? Can you continue to learn? And can you be a team player? And can you do all these other things that aren't reflected in report cards? So, most employers, if you've got a graduation certificate, they don't care what the end result was. They want to see how you're able to negotiate the work environment, and that's the most important thing. So I think that fits in very well with what employers are looking for.
Yeah, I think that the new curriculum with the curricular competencies are far more skills based, and especially the core competencies. And to go through and actually read those, they really align with what you were just talking about.
Hi, Vicki. My name's Crystal. I asked the question about going to university, and I'd just like to follow up on what Chris said too. And that's kind of why I asked. I'm a long ways out. Our child is only in grade 1. Our school is utilizing this. And so when we saw his first, set of report cards, we went, isn't this interesting? This is a long way from where we used to be. One thing that I thought was interesting is our child loves to be involved in that discussion. He loves providing the feedback and doing that whole process. And actually, I think it's a great comment that universities are going that way, because you go for a job interview and everybody asks, how did you, what kind of difficult situation did you have, and how did you get around that, or how could you do better? And those types of things I feel are already coming from sort of an analytical side to looking at their grades. So I feel it's very interesting coming in new to the school system.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, a lot of our teachers that are embracing, because if they teach grade 8 and 9, they tend to also apply these assessment processes to grades 10 to 12. And so what a lot of the teachers that are teaching grade 11 and 12 do, they have portfolios for their students, and then they conference with their students to decide on that final percentage and letter grade, and the student has to produce evidence of their learning from their portfolio. And I believe that if a student can actually show, this is where I am on that proficiency scale, this is the evidence to support that, I think that shows a tremendous amount of growth, because that's what we want students to be able to do, is to set goals, understand how to get to those goals, and be able to assess their own learning. So I'm really happy to see that a lot of teachers are actually doing it at the grade 10 to 12 level as well.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on that? All right, thank you so much, Vicky. That was.
Hey, Chris, I have one question.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
How do you assess the more quiet students? So, like, if it's based on class participation and that kind of stuff, how do you assess somebody who doesn't participate but does well on tests and homework and things like that?
Well, I think that this is where choice and student agency is extremely important, because not only is it important for students to be able to choose perhaps what topic they'd like to study, but it's also important for them to be able to choose what mode they'd like to show their learning in. So, for instance, some students prefer to write. Some kids love to speak orally. Not that we shouldn't encourage them to use all modes to make their learning visible, but for the quiet or more shy student, there should be lots of varieties of ways for them to show their teacher their learning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other last questions?
Well, thank you very, very much, everybody. I really enjoyed coming to share with you today, and I'm sure that you'll see a bit of a variety happening next year with regard in the high schools with regard to assessment and reporting, but we're all working towards the same goal. Just like kids, adults too need time and patience in order to evolve their practice. Thank you.
And thank you. And absolutely, I totally agree. I mean, part of what we're trying to encourage as well is that parents are all learners as well, and we can easily apply this not only to our children but to ourselves as well, and hopefully carry that forward. And I understand that you won't be with us next year.
Oh, yes, I'm actually retiring at the end of June. So big transition ahead for myself as well.
I just want to say thank you so much for not just for tonight, but I mean there's a lot of work that goes into this stuff, and I wanted to thank you. I mean, good luck in retirement, but thank you so much for all your work in our school district with our kids and families, and really helping to all improve our learning outcomes. We're we're better off that you were here. So thank you.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. It's been a joy. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Vicky. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. And yeah, that was great. Thank you. So thank you to Vicky for that. And Vicky, you're welcome to stay if you like. We'll be going on to our next presentation, which is one thing we always love to do, which is our Longtime Service Award for parent volunteers that are graduating out of the public education system with their youngest or only child graduating out of grade 12 this year. For outstanding contributions to their school communities. And we always ask for nominations from secondary PACs who have a parent who's graduating out. And this year, we are pleased to announce that our recipient for this year is Kim Dumore. For 13 years as a PAC parent, and that's any parent is a PAC parent, but definitely the involvement and working on the executive and so many years of, in addition to, of course, all the other community things that are going on. So we are pleased to announce that her being the recipient of this award. And we'll get to you. We have a mug for you that isn't quite yet finished that says SD42 DPAC and your recipient award similar to what we had last year, and also a $75 gift certificate for Black Sheep. So you can on your graduation retirement out of grade 12 from being a PAC parent that hopefully you'll get to enjoy. And before I let Kim say anything, I'm just going to say a couple of things. PAC parent since 2008, several executive positions and accomplishments, including Ladyview, MRSS, and DPAC. And so for Kim in September 2008, 13 years ago, her daughter Maddie entered kindergarten at Ladyview Elementary School. And on that very first day, Kim vowed to be involved in her child's education journey from beginning to end, whether she liked it or not. We're all pretty much there. And Kim went into the school and asked how to join the PAC, which is where the story begins. And Kim loved being at the school and helping out in any way that she could, writing late slips, greeting students at the beginning of their day, organizing food drives, hot lunches, plant scale sales, raffles, snack days, and fun days. You name it, they did it. Kim held various roles on the Ladyview PAC, from a member at large to vice chair and chair. Being a part of the PAC made Kim feel connected. Kim participated in so many opportunities that made her feel like she had a voice in the school district community. The creation of a district-wide earthquake plan was something that Kim was very passionate about. This work took a long time and was necessary. Kim was also actively involved in the Me to We movement. Maddie and Kim, with 4 other families, went to Ecuador to build a water treatment facility as a We Day project. As Kim's daughter was moving up in the education system, Kim wanted to as well. So Kim joined the DPAC and held the roles of a member at large, vice chair, and chair over the years. This opportunity allowed Kim to participate in more school district programs, and her voice at the table was heard more broadly. She volunteered for many school district activities. You could find Kim running around the downtown core for many years looking for clues with students from Student Voice. Kim also judged the district public speaking competition, the PMSS Iron Chef Challenge, and adjudicated many MRSS graduation transition plan presentation sessions. Kim should be very proud of the work that DPAC did on diversity, youth mental health and wellness, and parent education forums while she was on the executive. Food security has also always been a passion of hers, and she co-created the district's meal and snack program with the food bank available to all students in SD42 and is offered in almost every school in the district. Today, Kim still volunteers with the MRSS and PMSS breakfast programs, and Kim might say her love language is volunteering and that she is so grateful that her daughter facilitated the conduit to allow the volunteer work to start and shine. Kim's heart goes out to all the PAC volunteers and the countless hours that you all spend on fundraising and organizing events. Sorting plants, planning, and sometimes crying does not go unnoticed. The school district is so much better because it has PACs in it. And I'm just going to say also at Ladyview, Kim organized the Hot Lunch Program, the Yearly Carnival Fundraiser, facilitated the Snack Sharing Basket Program, raised funds for the new playground, coordinated the painting of the mural on the pod. With DPAC, she helped facilitate parent forums on youth mental wellness, grade 8 registration, inclusiveness, held PAC 101 information sessions, participated in student forums, student voice activities, attended BCC PAC conferences, and initiates with emergency preparedness readiness for PACs. And I would just say personally as well, I probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for Kim. She sucked me into this a couple of years ago, which was not exactly what I was expecting. I was just, a curious parent to see what was going on, and next thing I know, here I am. So, and that is part of succession planning, that you do try to find people, and I think Kim's been very successful at that. And anyway, I've said enough, and I'll let Kim have the floor if she'd like to add anything. Thank you, Kim.
Well, when I say parents cry on PACs, it's because I'm a crier. As you can see, they're all welled up. Anyways, we'll try to hold it together. Thank you for having me. I wanted to share a fun story with you all, something that happened to me recently, and it was pretty cool. I was out for breakfast with a friend and outside on the patio, socially distanced, wearing masks, of course. And this young lady came up, and we were still wearing our masks. We hadn't ordered yet. And she says to me, "Are you Kim Dumore?" And I said, and this is in Langley, just for reference. "Are you Kim Dumore?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You used to open the door for me every day at Ladyview, and I looked forward to that." And I thought to myself, that's the whole reason why I did what I did, because I knew it would make a difference for someone. So anyways, thanks for having me. And I appreciate this. And I am a crier. You can ask at the board table. It's a mess, but passion, it's full of passion. And that's what these tears are. And thank you for recognizing me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll just add to what Kim said too, and I think this was brought up at the board meeting last night. I've heard it many times over. As PACs and as parent leaders, it's not just the fundraising. It's not just those things are all important, and we all do it in the hot lunches and all the rest. It's making connections with your students. If you're volunteering in the library and connecting with those students when they're taking out books, greeting them at the door, all of those things are also part of what we do. And that's that's an important part. Is for some of these kids, I know they are your connection. That you are their connection. You're their maybe one parent that they can talk to, outside of the family unit or outside of the classroom or whatever, that they trust, and you build that trust, and they remember. I can tell we can all say stories of a teacher or a parent or whatever that we all remember as kids that did something for us, and that's part of what we want to do too, is pass that on. And I know that and nothing against previous PACs or DPACs or whatever. I know that that Kim left DPAC better than she found it. That is always the goal, and I hope that after us, that they leave it better than they found it, and the ones after them leave it better than they found it. And if you can come into an organization like a PAC or a DPAC, and you can in any small way leave it better than you found it, then you have been successful. So, and I think Kim has done that many times over. So thank you, Kim. Thank you for sucking me into this, because here I am, and I wouldn't be here without you. And it is kind of like a retirement, I guess, because you're graduating out. But I'll tell you, I already graduated out once, and here I am back again. So you never know. You never know. But
you can always run for the board too. Like all of you, that is a thing. So there are next steps.
There are next steps, and and for for the parents that are leaving grade 7, that's another thing, because it changes for them, and then to grade 12, and I'm sure I'm sure we're all gonna we still have the work that we need to do, and I think whether that's at a elementary PAC or a secondary PAC or in some other school trustee or some other position where we're involved with kids, providing better opportunities and improving learning outcomes. That's really what we're all trying to do. So thank you, Kim, for that. Yeah, thank you. What else can I say? Thank you. Does anybody else want to add anything? Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Well, I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of the trustees when I add our congratulations to Kim. It is great having Kim and Kim's passion, including her tears, at the board table. People who care are those who make a difference, and Kim certainly is one of those. I also want to say that I realize Kim's focus has certainly been on youth and young people and students, but she volunteers beyond that. I sit on a Salvation Army Community Council with Kim, and the focus is certainly on some of the programs that Salvation Army does in support of students, but it obviously goes beyond that. So Kim is a person who just cares about other people, and when we're talking to grads about the life ahead of them, we're often talking to them and encouraging them about how they might make a difference in the world. And there are no better examples than DPAC members who are volunteering in front of those kids every day in their schools. Kids notice that, as you heard in Kim's story. And so congratulations to Kim for sure. And it's unfortunate that you can't have your annual thank you dinner to everybody, but let me take this opportunity to just say thank you to everybody for all of the work that you're doing, setting such a great example for students. Your own student and the other students who also see you working as volunteers in their schools. So thank you very much. And congratulations again, Kim. Yay, Kim.
And again, happy birthday, because it's also her birthday, so
yeah,
it's double. Okay, thank you so much, Kim, and we'll arrange to get you those things as COVID appropriate. But thank you. Okay, next we'll be going on to our, we put together a brief PAC Treasurer 101 report. It's just a Coles note. It is by no means comprehensive. It's part of what we've been trying to do in numerous things, whether it's conducting elections, code of ethics, and all kinds of stuff. So we're starting to put these kind of things together. So we're just going to touch on these ones quickly, and I'll let Paulina go ahead, and Juliet can jump in whenever you like.
Hi. You're going to give me the next slide, Chris? I'm going to read them. So basically, we just want to remind people the best practices on how to be treasurer in PACs. So first, do not pay or reimburse anything without an invoice or a receipt. Keep those invoices and receipts in a binder somewhere that the next person that comes after you can see and find easily. Do not pay for items for a fundraiser out of the money collected. For example, hot lunch money is collected ahead of time. Someone goes to Costco and buys chips and drinks, hands in the receipts, and gets paid with the cash before it's deposited. A PAC pays the pizza delivery in cash out of the money raised. At the end of the fundraiser, the leftover cash is deposited to the bank. Not the way to do it. You're supposed to. Best practice is to deposit all the money received and to reimburse for expenses by writing checks. This creates a transparent way to track how much is being spent on each item and allows both the treasurer and the fundraising coordinator to agree on what was raised. It is better for audit purposes to pay the original invoice versus a reimbursement. For example, Purdy's needs to be paid for the chocolates. The fundraising coordinator pays for this on their credit card or with personal funds and submits the receipt for reimbursement. Not best practice. Best practice is to pay Purdy's directly with a PAC check. Except for items related to fundraising like Purdy's, Domino's, carnival expenses, etc., all items should be paid for by the school, and then PAC pays the school. PAC should not be paying for items that are for the school directly to the vendor. This does two things. One, allows the school, the PAC, to take advantage of the GST rebate, and two, if it needs to be returned or exchanged, school can change them without going through the PAC. The school then accepts the warranty liability of this item. Big items such as playgrounds should never be paid for directly by PACs due to liability and warranty issues. PACs also lose out on the PST exemptions, which would result in the loss of hundreds of dollars. Any invoice over $1,500 before tax should go through the district to qualify for the exemption. There are two ways for the school to bill a PAC. One is directly to the PAC from the school. The other is to have the district pay, and then the district will bill the PAC. The district bills out about 4 times a year. All playgrounds will come from district so that the PST exemption can be claimed on PAC's behalf. Checks should be set up to have at least 2 signatures on them. This is a must to show full transparency, and never sign a blank check. It is advisable to have 3 to 4 people be signing authorities so that if reimbursement is needed, a signer never signs their own check. Each type of event must have their own float. 50-50 draws must have its own float always so that the float can be taken out before the prize money is calculated. A gaming license is also needed for this type of activity. It is good practice to have individual floats for each type of event so that a PAC can calculate how much profit was made on said event to see if it's worth it to try it again or to try a different event. For example, at a fun fair, you have a 50-50, a concession, silent auctions, games, and gift baskets. Overall, the PAC makes $8,000, but only had 1 float, and so it has no idea if any activities lost money. If they're separate floats and the money is kept separate for each activity, they can see where the profit came from and repeat only those types of activities next time.
And that's it for this one. Is just a Cole's Notes version, and we're going to be expanding on that. If PACs have any specific, what's really helpful to us is it's easier for us to, if PACs have specific questions about things, please let us know, because you can be rest assured you are not the only PAC asking that question, but we don't know until we receive the question. And then we focus on those rather than bombarding with, I mean, there's onerous amounts of information on all kinds of different things. So if you do have any questions, please put them out, or if there's anything you'd like to know about, we'll include that into our ongoing building presentation for treasurer. We are also putting one together for chair, another one for secretary, and for any other positions. So if you have those questions, please send them to us so that we know what kind of things that you need information on, and then we can focus on doing those kind of things. Does anybody have any questions on any of those?
Someone was asking for them to be for the slides to be sent.
Yes, this whole slide will be sent to all the reps and the PACs. I'm going to try and do that shortly after this meeting. I don't think as long as there's no major changes, then it'll go out pretty much as is. So it should go out tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Great advice, Paulina.
So yeah, thank you to Paulina and Juliet who put all those things together. And like I say, it's we're going to be building on this, so and adding to it. And you know, our hope, of course, was to have some workshops together in March and then April and May, and one thing just keep getting sidetracked by something else that comes up. So anyways, we hope to have more of this stuff put out as time goes on, and that we can have information that puts our PACs in the best position available for a September start, which hopefully will be, if not fully back to normal, somewhat back to normal. So we'll see on that. So thank you, Paulina and Juliet, for putting all that together. And then next, I'd like to introduce Shannon Durenzi for the Superintendent's Report. Deputy Superintendent Shannon Durenzi, welcome and go ahead.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. And let me add my voice of congratulations to Kim. I really enjoy working with her. I'm not sure if Vicky's still on, but thanks to Vicky too. We are at the secondary level certainly going to miss her. She's been a great compliment to the team. So it was done last night as well, but I'm primarily going to focus on summer school because that's sort of the big event happening right now for families to be thinking about. So like last year and previous years, we're going to offer a full complement of summer school from K to 12. It opened on May 17th and it is still open for those of you who are interested. Registration has been really strong. We're offering 5 different programs. We're offering an elementary program, which is for our current grade kindergartens to grade 6. This year, normally it's offered at 3 of our elementary schools. This year, just to be COVID safe and to really be able to manage our cleaning and our routines, we're going to offer it at Hammond Elementary. The focus is primarily on literacy and numeracy skills. It will run from 9 till noon over 3 weeks for a total of 40 hours. And so far we have 408 elementary students registered for that. So that's exciting for us. We also, we started doing it, I think about 4 years ago, where we offered a grade 7 to 8 transition program that focuses on applied design skills and technology. And the idea of this one is really to introduce our grade 7s in some capacity to grade 8 with a little bit of fun hands-on learning and to be introduced to a few high school teachers. So that's really the intent of it. Students can choose either video game design and coding or woodwork and metalwork. Again, this one runs from 9 till noon. It's for about 3 weeks. And it really is a nice way to transition kids, and they get to maybe see some kids that aren't in their normal social circles and that sort of thing. And Vicki mentioned the grade 8 and 9 literacy and skill building program. Typically, our high school programs are offered at Thomas Haney. This year, they're going to be offered at Maple Ridge Secondary School. This program focuses primarily on grade level English, numeracy, and science learning outcomes. It runs from 8 a.m. till 1:30. So families can either select this. Sometimes teachers also recommend this program for students. It really is, when Mike asks a question about, what if kids are struggling with a course, this is really one of those areas to do some skill building around some of the fundamentals. And then we're offering grade 10 to 12 academic courses. And these are full courses, so students get credit for it. This is often for students who want to accelerate in something, so they've done their grade 11 English and they want to do grade 12 English through summer. Often a lot of our trade students want to get some of their courses looked after in the summer because their trades program is so full. So these are the kinds of courses for that. It's based on enrollment, but generally we run English, math, science, and social studies courses. These go from 8 a.m. till 1:30 for 3 weeks. And again, they're the full course. So they get a report card, they get course credit, all of that for those courses. And finally, we're also going to run Catesy First Nation School again this year. We run it out of the health center at Catesy First Nation. Is a K to 7, and that is primarily looking at literacy, culture, and language component. And we're offering a grade 8 to 12 focus that will be focused on intergenerational teaching of the cultural components of the program, and they will work primarily with younger students and earn credit for either student aid or leadership. And 5 knowledge keeper support teachers are going to help guide this. Registration's open till May 28th. So if it's something that interests you, I really encourage you to take a look at that and get registered. And I'll just add one more thing. It's on the school district website, but registration for busing has also opened up. So if you're looking at wanting to get a child on the bus, have a look at that as well. And that's my report. Thanks so much.
And thank you, Shannon. Any questions on that? I have a quick question on the busing registration. Are elementary students also able to, especially for those like Blue Mountain, Wannock, are they able to register for the busing as well?
They are. So the travel distance varies depending on the grade level. So primary, don't quote me on this. You'll have to go on the website. I think it's 4 kilometers. Yeah. And for the older kids, it's 4.8. Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Just keep the information accurate. Yeah.
Amber, BME.
Just a question with the bus registration. We are within the 4 kilometers, but I still sent in a registration regardless.
Yes.
Based on a number of issues, but yeah, so I understand that won't be dealt with until September, that we would hear for ineligible students.
Yes, that's correct. So what they want to do first of all is figure out what's the registration. So you're what's called a courtesy rider. And so what they want to do is first of all figure out those that have the further distance, and then they will start filling the bus with courtesy riders.
Okay, and I checked the bus routes, and I understand that you guys won't obviously change bus routes for ineligible students, but if we have enough ineligible student registrations, would a bus route be changed in those circumstances?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure what they're doing. My understanding is that they figure out who are the eligible riders first, and then decide on routes after they've figured out who the eligible riders are.
Any other questions on Shannon's report? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Shannon. That was very helpful. Thank you. We'll move on then to the MRTA, and Mike will be giving some information on behalf of the school board. Go ahead, Mike.
Great, thanks. The first thing I wanted to mention was that we did pass our budget on May 5th. But this is kind of a Kim Doomer day, so I thought what I might mention is that we did make a couple of last-minute adjustments to the budget based on presentations that we heard during the process, and one of those Kim was certainly a champion of. I'll attest to that. At the board table, and that was for additional support for vulnerable families in our district by providing some additional staff time that might be used by schools in different ways, but still with the intent of providing that support. And as you can imagine, Kim was certainly a champion of that, as were many others, both in staff and on the board. But I just wanted to underline that because the process is an important one. And when we listen carefully and we are able to make adjustments like that, it means folks like Kim are making a difference. So we appreciate that. Last night, of course, we heard about grad ceremonies, and during this pandemic, the topic of grad ceremonies is quite controversial, as you can imagine, because as any of us would want to be, parents want to be present at those very important ceremonies, those milestones in their children's lives, and this is a real tough one. What I wanted to do tonight was to share that we are obliged to follow the provincial guidelines that have been established both by provincial public health and the Ministry of Education. And we don't have any latitude on that. The reason I mention that is because, and perhaps understandably, I know that our chair receives many emails from parents who would want to have greater access to those ceremonies and unfortunately cannot. And we as a board, and certainly Corleen as chair, don't have the ability to bend those rules. They are provincially adopted and so on. And I think what is a little different this year, Ken Colbert shared with us that schools have been planning these events. And unlike last year when we didn't have a lot of time to pivot to something new, they certainly have been planning as best they can within the guidelines that have been established. And what I will say, without going into any detail, certainly not to the extent that Ken did, is that the intent is to gather as many of the kids together because they want to be with their friends and the people that they've gone through school with as much as possible. So that's certainly the theme that I heard last night as Ken was describing this. But my main purpose tonight in just sharing this was to say that we are driven by the guidelines that have been set across the province, and we really don't have any latitude there. As much as all of us would like to have some of these guidelines and rules relaxed a little bit, we've gone just about as far as we can. And it's all about maintaining the health and safety of everyone involved. So you heard about summer learning, and the only thing I wanted to add to what Shannon had to say, first of all, is it's more popular than it was last year. Within two days yesterday, 3 days today, we have more students registered than we had in the entirety of last year. So my point is, if you're interested in this, get registered quickly because we may run out of space. And I know that staff will do everything they can to try and accommodate as many people as possible, but there could be some capacity issues. So Also wanted to acknowledge the announcement the other day. We talked about this at our some of our board meetings yesterday. Vaccinations for students being announced, and that registration can occur now. So I would encourage parents both to make that happen for their children, to get them vaccinated, and to get online and get the registration done. So that can happen. We certainly are prepared as a district if public health had the resources and were able to. We're told that our schools would be happy to accommodate that within the school, but it's at this point not the approach given the limits of public health resources. But anyway. Bottom line is get that vaccination happening, because the sooner, the more of us get vaccinated, the more we're going to be able to get back to a normal life, which we all want. Last night, we received the district's annual climate change accountability report. I know that in all of this other stuff sounds kind of dull and boring, but it's not. Obviously, the climate is an important thing for us to all to be thinking about. And the province has certain goals, and that has led to a little more funding being available. And the nice thing for us, given budgets and so on, is that over the years that our program has been operating, which is I think 5 years now, basically we've been able to obtain capital funding of about $7 million, and that has saved us, or is saving us, about $540,000 a year in our operating budget. That's $540,000 that can go back into schools, into classrooms, into the kind of support that we were talking about earlier for vulnerable families and students. So that's real important work that's going on, and we're looking forward to that carrying on. When we open a new school like Susquehanna, that school is built to a standard that means it is very energy efficient, as you might imagine, but the government is providing funding for that, and that's greatly appreciated. Susquehanna's footprint is about half that of the average of the other schools in our district. So if were we able to reduce our footprint by that much in all of our schools, we'd be meeting the Clean BC target of 2030. So we're hoping to move in that direction for sure. There were several reports from trustees about various community initiatives that schools can be involved in. Kim, did you want to share anything about the May 29th event that's going on?
Chris touched on it briefly. It's the Clean Up Maple Ridge project that DPAC's working on. Are you going to talk about it again, Chris?
Yeah, it's later on in the agenda.
Okay, great. Well, I won't take any time, but it's near and dear to my heart. Kim sees me walking up and down her street picking up litter all the time, so it's something that I even encourage with the Salvation Army guys to get out there and do some of that around their facility, and so many others. I just think it speaks to the pride that we all have in our community. So I encourage that. So I'll let Chris speak to that later. Last thing, just to identify, coming in June, we expect the release of our draft facilities plan and our capital plan. Both of those are, I think, fairly exciting, because the province, in their budget release or budget announcement earlier this year, increased capital by quite a bit. And that is to address issues of facility maintenance and carbon neutral work, such as I was referencing earlier, replacing older schools, all of that sort of thing. And so we're hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, that we're going to be able to move forward with some pretty important projects over the next couple of years. And we'll be able to talk about those a little bit more in June. So stay tuned. And I think that was just about it. Oh, other than I wanted to take this public opportunity to congratulate Trevor and Martin both for being reelected to the executive of the MRTA. And I think they're next.
Thanks, Trustee Murray. Are there any other questions for Mike? Okay, all right, and Mike is correct. So we will move on to Martin. Thank you very much, Martin, and it's all yours.
Thank you very much, and thanks very much, Mike, for the congratulations. It's very much appreciated. And yeah, we both, Trevor and I, as well as our second VP, Sonia Cruz, have all been gone through acclimation process for our roles. We didn't have any contenders to run against us to worry about for this particular year. And to round out our kind of leadership roles, there's also what we call the local reps, which are representatives to the BCTF in a kind of Senate-like structure. And we have Richard McGraw, who's a teacher in French Immersion at Pitt Meadows Secondary that is newly elected to one of those roles. And our other representative is Aaron Smead, who's a continuing education teacher in our district. So it was a good night, and we've got great representation for our next year coming up. I wanted to take a moment to also congratulate Kim Dumore. You may have heard kind of a bit of a theme going on there that definitely a lot of the work that Kim has done over the years has been some way involved in something that's something really important to me, which is kind of building equity amongst our kids in our district. You know, making sure that all kids have equal opportunities, you know, whether it's putting on the glitz or other measures. I worked a bit with Kim. One of my most memorable pieces with that was bringing a guest speaker to our district by the name of Ivan Coyote, a trans speaker, to speak with both our students as well as parents back in 2018. And I can say that was a very significant, important experience for me, because I was I tend to get a little bit emotional like Kim, but I was GSA sponsor at Thomas Haney at the time. And I not only had my own kiddos that came out for that event, but kids out from Ontario on exchange. And I have to say it was a life-changing event for some of them. After Ivan spoke, they came running down out of the bleachers like groupies around a rock star, asking questions. And after I got the chance to debrief with them, multiple students said it was the first time they'd ever heard from anyone that had any way shared experiences with them that connected with their life story or their struggles. And so it was really important to them. So thanks, Kim, your involvement, and as well as we had Jill Constable from DPAC that year helping out with coordinating that effort. It was really important to those kids, so thank you. So I wanted to also touch base on a couple of other items. Yes, at high school, we're really, really hoping that we go to a semestered system. But just as one slight cautionary piece, everything rides on the BC CDC and Fraser Health giving us the green light to do it that manner. And we know that that relies on what's happening out there in the public and how smoothly things are going with trends in infection rates. Things look good though. So I don't see anything disrupting our plans, because vaccination rates are going up, and that's leading to drops in instances of COVID in our community. So that's just a slight nuance to that piece about semesters system in our schools next year. It is dependent upon BCCDC, but I don't see that there will be anything to disrupt that. And another piece, Vicky Hallaby, I want to say I've been doing some work with her, with our teachers in many after-school sessions in which people who are involved in the reporting pilot at secondary level, they're kind of like early adopters of the system that she went over. They've been building common language in these meetings after school. So I have my hats off to the teachers and Vicky, who've been putting in this extra time well after classes have ended, multiple hours each of these sessions to, like you need to with any grading system, build consistency, build common understanding of language, finding out like, okay, for math or for science, what is each of these different identifiers or each of these different descriptors mean on the proficiency scale. So it's been great having Vicky in our district, and she's been doing a lot of hard work for us this year to build that consensus in that piece around assessment. Eventually, there may be further what's called a reporting order that may come down from the Ministry of Education to kind of more firmly assert that we're moving in that direction, and we may eventually go towards more mandatory reporting in that manner, but that hasn't dropped yet. But it's good that we have the early adopters and pilot in place. So we've got lots of teachers that can act as mentors to help other teachers out and kind of really work together to ensure that it's a smooth transition process if and when that reporting order comes down. So I think that kind of covers all the topics I hope to cover, and I'm open to questions if anyone has any.
Great, thanks, Martin, and congratulations to both of you for your executive positions. Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Martin? Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Martin, and thank you for always participating. Thank you for always bringing stuff. Sorry, I gotta move my $15,000 cat. 2 surgeries, and yeah. Anyway, thank you for always participating and offering insight and all that kind of stuff. We really appreciate your engagement. So thank you. And we'll go on then to like I say, with anything, you're always welcome to speak, and so always feel free. So we'll go on to QP. I don't think there's anybody here from QP. But I will touch on one thing quickly. We'll talk about later for the cleanup day on May 29th. There was at least one PAC that brought a concern that the outside grads that we may be stepping on something that is bargaining unit work. It's not bargaining unit work, and I've already touched base with Jason. He's fine with this. We made sure to check with this first. It is not designed to take anybody's job or to do anything. This is simply a community event, and I'll explain this later. I just want to know in regards to QP, we did touch base with QP before we put this forward. Jason is totally fine with it, and so any concerns that some parents or PACs may have had about that perception of it, I just want you to know that, and we did this a few weeks ago. This was already done, so there's no worry. It is we've already checked in with Jason, and he supports the community doing this as a community event. So we just wanted to touch base on that, and thank you to QP for all the hard work that they do in and out of our schools. And I know that Chad was here, but he had to go to another meeting. So before we go into the treasurer's report, he did make a mention in the chat, but I'll just read it aloud for the YouTube portion. And he did mention, unfortunately, I need to go to another meeting from the MRPVPA. We'd like to acknowledge all of the hard work of all staff, QP, MRTA, MRPVPA, and Exempt are doing to educate our students while maintaining safe schools. And he looks forward to the next DPAC meeting. So thanks to Chad for coming. Again, another valuable partner that we hear from all the different sides, so that as parents, we're making decisions that are informed. that are coming from all of our partner groups, and then we're not living or working, operating in a silo, and that we're trying to, engage and ask questions so that we can get the answers that we understand. So, thank you to Chad for that. And to that, I will go to the Treasurer's report to Paulina.
Hi again. Awkwardly slow. Okay, so our gaming account sits at $3,990.35. Our general account sits at $5,774.38 for a total of $9,764.73 as of May 18th. That's all I got for you.
Any questions on the Treasurer's report? Okay, we'll go to our next item, moving right along. So this is, we're going to talk a little bit about nominations for the DPAC executive positions. All the positions are open. Amanda from Yeniden has graciously offered to act as our nominating committee this year. If you'd like to participate, any of our reps can participate with Amanda in helping to receive and submit and present the nominations, which will be at our AGM in June. Amanda, sorry, I should have checked with you earlier, but is there anything you want to add to it?
No, I think it's just you'll start to see the posts come out on Facebook about the different positions, and including all of a little bit of a highlight on each position. Those are scheduled up. And so the other thing is just if you want to submit a nomination, it's well taken in advance, because it helps with the AGM planning and making sure, because we're doing it by Zoom. So any information or any nomination submitted in advance is good. You'll then receive an email back from me just confirming that it is a nomination. But if you're interested, please reach out. I'll send you the form and can go through the position with you. And as I said, the earlier you do it, the less work on the night of it helps. But we will be receiving nominations all the way up to the night of the AGM, which is the 17th of June. So as you've heard from Kim and Chris earlier today, it's an exciting place to be at DPAC. So I consider or encourage all of you to consider putting your name forward. Is that enough of a sale there, Chris? Hopefully.
Yeah, that's great. And we're definitely going to have vacant positions. All positions are up for nomination or all up for election. But we do have some positions that will not be returning. So definitely think of somebody that you either self-nominate or have someone nominate you if you're interested in stepping up to any of the executive positions. Like Amanda said, if you have any questions, they're conducted according to our constitution and bylaws. It's the nominating committee that will conduct the elections in the manner that they see fit according to that. My personal goal is to have one day so many people that are willing to stand for position at the DPAC that I don't have to. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to participate and be available for questions or whatever else, but my goal is to have so many people interested that and I'm willing to withdraw any nomination if it ever comes to that, so that someone else can have an executive seat at the table. So I really encourage you to think about it. We've got lots of great parents out there, and it's open to any parent, not just only the DPAC reps can vote, but the positions are open to any parent in SD42. So I really strongly encourage any of you who are thinking about it, and ask Amanda any questions on what the roles are and that kind of thing. But we certainly need you, and certainly at the district level, there's a lot more insight. So I know a lot of PACs are struggling to get people as opposed to having a full-blown election. But I hope elections are healthy, and I hope that one day we do get to that point, just because it just demonstrates the interest that people have in advocating at that level. So thank you, Amanda. And on that, just as part of it, and I'm just going to touch on it quickly because we're almost at the end. I think we have a couple more things. We have put, for some of our PACs, we've been acting as a nominating committee. And we've put out to some PACs some just sort of brief Coles notes on I won't say best practices, because your elections are conducted according to each of your constitution and bylaws. So elections may vary from PAC to PAC depending on what their constitution and bylaws says in regards to what the executive positions are, how the voting is conducted, and those kind of things. So I'm just gonna, it is going to be going out with the PowerPoint will be going out with all the rest of it, but I'll just go through quickly. That elections are conducted according to your constitution and bylaws, a nominations committee, hopefully by your members, or either an agreed upon third party by your members, or as DPAC, we are always available to conduct that as well. And always make sure your nominees are confirmed to stand for the position before you put them in or elect them or acclaim them into that position, rather than have somebody think, whoa, I don't want to do this. And then, of course, that's at the AGM, which is a little bit too late. So that's always an important part as well. And this is just a generic one. And again, so nominations received, you have your first call, your second call, your third call. So this would be an example. Parent A is nominated. You have 2 nominations for vice chair, that kind of thing. The nominations process is generally first call, which is put out a month or so before, second call somewhere in between that and the AGM, or also can be done at the AGM where you do second call and then third call basically right after each other. After the third call is done, the nominations are declared closed, and once it's declared closed, it means that whatever happens at the end of that nominations, then it's either elected, acclaimed, or vacant. There's no, you can't come back and say, oh, well, now I want to do this. It's declared closed, and the election process then proceeds. And currently, as Amanda said, our elections are currently conducted on Zoom. If we can get the nominations to Amanda earlier, that's the better, because they need to be set up in the polling option. Those nominees confirmed to stand will be entered into the poll. If there's more than one person willing to stand, there will be an election. If there's only one person standing, they will be acclaimed. And if nobody's standing, the position will simply be declared vacant. And that's when the nominations are closed. If it is empty, someone can't be acclaimed at that point. It is declared vacant, and then the vacancy language in your constitution bylaws would then apply. So that's why that closing the nominations is important. So again, I'll just run through this quickly. This is just what it kind of looks like. So there's one person, parent A is declared acclaimed. You have 3 people running, so 2 people in advance, 1 person from the floor, which resulted in an election. This is what it would look like sort of in the Zoom. It is all anonymous, or it's set up to be anonymous. So even the person that's like in our case as DPAC, who own the Zoom license, we don't even see who voted for what. It is through the product itself is automatically anonymous when selected, and that's how it comes up. The election, and then people can choose. It's a single. You can do it for single choice or multiple choice. In this case, it'd be single choice. Everybody picks, and for most constitution and bylaws, it's 50 plus 1. And in this case, there was a 50 plus 1. The poll results are shared with everybody so that they see, and the chair is then declared elected. Single person again declared acclaimed. In this case, a position, no one has been nominated. Third and final call. Nominations are closed. The position is then none accepted, and the position is then declared vacant. And then your vacancy language in your constitution and bylaws for filling that either by appointment or another election or whatever would apply. Again, this is just another example. There's 2 parents standing for this position. There's an election. The poll results are shared. And in this case, parent E is declared elected on the election. For the position of member at large, so parent A stood for the chair position and for the member at large position, because you can stand for multiple positions, but because they were already successful and it's done in the order of your constitution and bylaws. So if your constitution and bylaws lists the order of the executive positions, that's generally how the elections are conducted. And in this case, parent A was also nominated for member at large, but because they were successful in a previous nomination election, they are removed from the nomination, and then it's down to 2 parents. And because there's 2 positions for a member at large in their constitution and bylaws, both are declared acclaimed. And then once the elections are complete, the names and the positions are announced and motions put forward, similar to the one here, and then that's included in the minutes. And it also becomes part of the documents that may be submitted to your financial institution if you're changing signing authorities. And what that helps to do is helps to demonstrate that your membership has confirmed your election and has confirmed the election result. So that's important to have that in there as well. And more financial institutions are doing what they should have been doing a long time ago, which is doing more diligence on confirming who's verified to be changing signing authorities, and that someone isn't just walking in saying, "Hey, I'm the new PAC, chair of so and so, and I'm now the signing authority." And we also have a template letter that we've been working on and tweaking for anybody that needs to be changing signing authorities. So if you need that, we can send that to you. That you just fill in the blanks and change to your PAC. And so this is what it would look like. And then the motion is done, presented to the membership. Again, it's put into the poll, launched as a motion. And those are the questions. It goes through, and then that's entered into the minutes. In this case, it's carried, and your executive officers are now approved. So that's all in there. Just touch on it briefly. And any questions on the elections process for that? Okay, we can take that. If anybody has any questions or anything like that, please email us and we'll try and sort it out. Again, none of it's perfect. It's just sort of a general idea, but it needs to work for each individual PAC. So on this too as well, and then I'll move forward to the DPAC and Ridge Managers Community Action Team Initiative. This was actually Kim had brought this forward, and I think we thought it was a great idea. And it is part of the strengthening resilience theme that we are encouraging PACs. We have a few already that are going to be participating. It's done individually for each individual PAC. We're just sort of helping to organize the event, and the Community Action Team is providing the gloves and bags and whatever else that we need. So, and it really is just about engaging your parent community, engaging your families to come out to your school, your own school community, and just kind of do. I mean, many schools are already doing this, either as individual parents that go out and do it. And just sort of building, what we can in a socially distant way to sort of build that about, well, this is how much garbage that we see in the school. This is how much is in the area. These are the kinds of things that our kids are coming to Monday morning, that nobody's had a chance to clean up yet. So it's just about awareness. It's about bringing the community together. So please, if you have, it could be 2 or 3 parents or families, or it could be 20 or 30, and everybody gets assigned a little spot, and they clean it up, and then we're going to arrange for all the garbage to be picked up after. So we need to know which PACs or schools are doing it, and then we'll be swinging by each one and picking up the bags and dropping them off so they're not left there. So please email us. We've heard from some already, and we probably haven't explained it very well. So if you have any more questions about it, please by all means reach out. But it is meant for each PAC, and it's also a way for your PAC leadership to say, let's look after our community and take care of our community, and that's another way to say, we're not a fundraising machine or whatever else, and we have other things that we want to address. Is there any questions on that for May 29th? And it's just for a couple hours, 10 a.m. to noon. Cone of shame. Okay, so we'll move along from that. Any other questions? Please let us know. And if you can let us know within the next couple of days how many bags and stuff that you need, because we'll need to get that together and get that to you. And then I'll pass it on to Tanya for the BCC PAC AGM report.
Hello. So the BCC PAC AGM was held on May 1st, and elections were held. I was elected as an incoming BCC PAC director. So I will be holding up a director position within BCC PAC for the upcoming year, and that I take that office on June 1st. So there is that. That was very exciting, and as well there it was. Sorry. Thank you, Kim. So there were other resolutions. The majority of the special resolutions passed. but there were some, we did get to some of the regular resolutions. It was a long meeting, and it was scheduled to go over, but according to Robert's rules, because we only advertised it was going until 4:30, the meeting had to end at 4:30, in which case the membership elected to hold a special general meeting. So that will have to be advertised in advance as well to continue hearing the resolution proposals. So there were quite a few of the proposals that were submitted by DPACs and other schools didn't even get a chance to be heard. I think we got the first 4 done, and they all passed. One of them was the AEDs installed in every public school. It's passed. Schools are recognized as a major community point in pretty much every community. Communities gather there. There's sports. There's community gatherings. So many reasons. And so all schools in the province, BCC PAC will be working with the Ministry of Education to have AEDs installed and have appropriate training in place. So that one passed. And then we had, I put through all my notes here. There was a implementation of funding model review. It went through many amendments, and in the end, it ended up passing with amendments, I believe. The other that did pass was DPAC 42. We submitted on FSAs, asking BCC PAC to no longer support FSAs in their current format, and that has also passed. So BCC PAC will now be saying to Ministry of Education, we need to change these. How are we going to do this? So you get what you want and the parents get what they want. So, and it's actually a use, like what the information they're getting is of use to our teaching staff and to the ministry and to the community as a whole. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's probably going to get assigned to me since it was our DPAC. So there's that. And there was also safe and active transportation support for rural students. What a lot of people don't realize is there's kids who are catching buses on the side of highways. And if they live within a certain distance, they're walking to school like on Highway 97, which is just crazy. And so many people go missing on these highways. So it was actually the Sunshine Coast who proposed this, and it has passed as well. So we'll be looking for more opportunities for safer transportation for our kids to school. Less accidents, more safety, just keep our kids safe. So that was where we ended off on the AGM. And coming up on the 28th and 29th is the Parent Education Conference. We have guest speakers. One of them, the opening is Jennifer Whiteside. We also have I'm trying to remember now. I can't remember now. But anyways, DPAC is willing to pay for 10 parents to attend. We have in the past. So tomorrow is the last day for registration. So if you would like to attend, please contact us. I'm guessing we'll put this out on Facebook and email it out to our reps as well to get those 10 parents. And I believe that is everything. Did I forget anything? No.
I don't think so. I think that for any parents that are interested, we can pay for up to 10, but we need to know like
now
tomorrow. Yeah. it closes tomorrow, and it's May 28th, 29th, I think.
Yeah, it's next weekend.
Yeah.
The Friday, Saturday.
So it's if you're interested, let us know, and we'll pay for you to go.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember the speakers. There were some good ones too. Sorry. I'm actually on their page. But yeah, there's quite a few, and one of them has done a TED talk, and so Gordon Neufeld, that's it. Thank you. Speakers and sessions. Gordon Neufeld is our opening keynote, and Dr. Ashley Miller is the closing keynote, as well as Jennifer Whiteside. And then there are a couple of assistant deputy ministers speaking as well. So it's actually quite informative. Gordon Neufeld is fantastic. He's a psychologist, deals with kids. He's pretty much the go-to guy in many, many school districts. So it'd be fantastic to hear. All right, and I hope to see you there. I will be there. Anybody else? Any questions? Nope.
Okay. All right. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. So our last order of business then is PAC Voice. Any sharing questions and any open discussions? Is there anybody that would like to bring anything forward?
Kim.
I just wanted to mention an event that we're planning quickly because it's going to be coming down rapid fire and all of a sudden it's going to be here. So with my trustee hat, I'm not a trustee here tonight. I sit on the youth planning table, and through the youth planning table, we have a subcommittee called UPlan. And so if you don't follow UPlan on social media, you should, because we're doing some super cool things. But like last year, we're trying to celebrate grads. And so we're trying to take over the block of 224th between Dewdney, Trunk, and Edge Street. And we have 7 or 8 businesses on board with us to celebrate grads. So it's supposed to come together for June the 1st. And so if you have grads, we're encouraging them to come down either in their formal or their cap and gown and take a photo of themselves. There'll be a hashtag that they hashtag posted on their story, and they can be entered to win a $100 Visa card. And so it's just a fun way to kind of get out and go to the downtown core and show people that they're graduating and just get involved in the community a little bit. So I will be blitzing it out in social media soon, and I hope everybody will help to share the word.
Thank you. And Amber, Blue Mountain.
Hi guys. Tanya, that's really interesting about the Sunshine Coast motion for the safe and active transport, because that's what I'm currently working on right now. So I'm just basically been trying to get that all together and have my initial draft kind of thing of a letter. But I just wanted to kind of inform you guys that this is what I'm doing, and I'm looking for hopefully the support of DPAC and maybe and getting other PACs involved as well. It's something that is affecting many of our students in our area of Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows, as I'm sure many other places as well. So basically, with what I'm kind of putting forward is that our governments have made it a priority to have safe and active transport, both provincially and federally. The governments are supporting this, but we don't see that in our community. We have very limited bus access with a unreasonable walking distance for many of our students without the safe roads that don't have sidewalks, shoulders, lights. They have wildlife. We have 2 jails in our region that bring some dangerous driving with that as well. There's a whole list of things with our roads that need to be changed. We need bike lanes, we need sidewalks. We don't have any of that stuff, but yet our kids are expected to walk on those unsafe conditions for 4 kilometers. Imagine a 4-year-old walking 4 kilometers and trying to make that in a timely and safe manner. Ain't gonna happen. And this goes in line with our active transport, which I fully support. Let's do active transport, but we need the city to get on board with having our roads safe in order to do that. Let's have more buses available to everyone, make it equal. We don't know what people's positions are. We can't assume that people have a car and they live close to be able to drive their children because of these unsafe road conditions. We can't assume that some of their kids are physically able or mentally able or mature enough to be able to handle that type of a walk. We have less people in the workforce, myself included. I've been gone out of the workforce for 4 years because I have to take my children to and from school. It's ridiculous. The government wants us in the workforce. And now I had read this whole, the budget incorrectly. I voted on it incorrectly with the whole bus transport issue. I had read it to be that it was going to be equal transportation for everybody. I was so excited because this was my whole plan to be able to get back to work. And I read it completely the opposite, where our buses are going to they could possibly be taken away, not next year, the following year, because now it's going to be a one-time budget allocation for that. We need to get our city, we need to get our school district, we need to get our provincial government, we need to get our federal government all on board to work together to resolve this issue. This should not be an issue to begin with. There is a law for children to attend school, then there should be equal opportunity for kids to be able to access school no matter what a family's situation is. So I'm kind of passionate about this, but I'll share with you more when I have it, and hopefully have your support with it.
Yeah, thank you, Amber. And I can tell you, Amber's done a lot of work looking at the active school travel stuff over the last, I know we've had emails going back and forth about what we can do. And I think you had Jenny come to your school, and I've included a link. This is actually from, it says me, but it's not me. It's Jenny will be speaking on the panel on May 31st. So there's an Eventbrite link there for that. And also, I'm just including the next one.
There's a strategic transportation plan input happening right now for the city of Maple Ridge. So it'd be advisable to go and make sure you have your voice heard in the survey. I put it in the chat, but the link didn't show up.
Yeah, I've got the link in there now.
Okay.
So yeah, everybody, and sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the interactive map is actually really great. You can use different colors to mark different issues. So I actually back onto 232nd between Dewdney and Abernathy. So there's a massive amount of green dots about congestion and the number of accidents behind our house. But Harry Hoagie is also using it as well. We are lobbying the city for a pedestrian controlled crosswalk across 232nd at 122. There is actually somebody who was rear-ended like on the last weekend because they stopped for someone in the crosswalk. And we've had kids who have had near misses on that crosswalk. So please use that map to mark all of your issues with no sidewalks, no crosswalks, congestion, like all of that around your schools that you have an issue with. It would be great because this is something the city is using for the strategic transportation plan right now. So
definitely have a look at that and pass that on to other people as well. Thank you.
It's fantastic.
And Yeniden put out, Yeniden PAC put out a great survey. I hope everyone got a chance to fill it out. It was really well thought out. We put it out to all the PACs and reps and to principals as well, that if they had any concerns. So I don't. Amanda, are you willing to speak to any of your feedback on that?
I mean, obviously, I'll just say is that I think that we're probably more powerful in numbers if we're looking at it. And I think that that's the one thing is obviously at Yeniden, our school is almost 700 children. And there's no way that we live in a really close vicinity. Like they're definitely walking. We're trying to encourage it, but we also have traffic, and we also have a pub that is right beside us. So that adds an extra complication to our world. So it's a big concern. Our streets don't even look like there's a school on our side. So we have a group. There's an established the Yeniden AST that's been established, and there's a ton of work. Craig's online, so he can probably talk about it. But he's been meeting with the city, the school district, a whole bunch of different people over the past few months, trying to get traction. But I would say it's persistence, but I think it's more the merrier on this one, is that it banding together and trying to put pressure, on SD42 a little, as well as the city, to make some combined efforts on this side of it. And maybe it is buses, maybe it is. There's no way I'm having my kids walk. There's just no way. And yet, we're definitely within the 4 kilometers, but I just couldn't get them. It's just too unsafe. So.
And that's the other thing. It's not even just a safety issue. If we're using more buses, then it takes away like all these cars that are on the road that, yes, cause safety concerns, but also environmentally too. The federal government just came out with e-buses that they have given a ton of money to for different communities, I guess, that somehow applied for it. And that's also a major priority for our federal government. So we need to take advantage of these things, these grants and funds that are being given, and see how
we're pursuing a number of those. In part, our focus is trying to draw awareness that we are in a school district, or that people are driving through a school district. But there's bigger, I think there's different levels of goals, and we're trying to apply for funds to actually bring awareness and even paint our school to not look like, to actually look like a school and draw awareness on that side. But or even have like signs that actually say you should be going through a school district, which is what we don't have. So I think there's a number of things that we can do. And I think I'll just say is that the more we can combine maybe under DPAC and combine these things, it might be a good topic. Maybe Chris at some point to actually have a more in-depth conversations with the DPAC reps and see if there's some interest in some combined efforts, because there's a whole bunch of different things we do. So Amber, maybe our group should get together and just swap notes.
For sure, that'd be great.
And I think certainly one thing we can do, and my personal preference, but I would leave that up to the reps, is that I think it would be a great idea to have an AST committee out of DPAC that comprised of the PACs that are looking at those things, because obviously there are issues that are common between all schools. I think my personal preference on that would be to leave that with the new executive that would be coming in June, rather than us making that decision now. But absolutely, I think it would be it's something that we're more and more looking at. And I also just want to say, particular to Amber and Craig and Yeniden, this is the advocacy that PACs are meant to do. This is the stuff that we're here for. This is a huge part of why we're in the School Act, to exist and to function. And these are just great examples of the work that's being done in our PACs, advocating for all kinds of different things. In this case, of active school travel. The survey really was a great survey. I filled it out for our PAC, and I know other PACs filled it out as well. So anyway, I just want to acknowledge that these are really good examples of things we can do in our community that really demonstrate the leadership of our PACs and our executives as parent leaders in the community. So thank you especially to both of you for doing all that work. It's really is a lot of work. Okay. Any other things that anybody would like to raise a question on or mention? Okay, I'll just reiterate again then. Please submit any of your nominations to yenidinpac@gmail.com. The work that is all being done here cannot be done without those nominations, without filling those executive positions. So it's really important that we have those. And some of the work, it could be, I do a lot of make work projects, so it's probably a lot more than what other what we may have to do, and it depends on your time that's available. Lately my time has been running out, but we're trying to struggle to get to the ones that we can, and there's a lot of things that are important, so we're trying to touch on those as much as possible. But it's about sharing the workload as well. Anyone can chair a meeting. We've had several chairs, to chair the meeting. Anybody can take minutes, and so you don't necessarily get stuck into certain things. But anyway, I could try and sell it forever, but I know we've got lots of great PAC executives and parents that could easily fill these positions and do the advocacy work at the district level that they're already doing at their PAC level. So please consider it. All right, with that then, thank you all for staying so long. I know I was hoping this would be a little bit shorter, but we some great ideas and great things. So I'll just get to this then. I'll put forward a motion to adjourn. Again, this is for DPAC reps only to vote in the poll. If I can have a mover on this motion. We've got a mover. Thank you, Amanda. Any seconder? Oh, ARE seconded. Thank you very much. Any discussion on anybody want to stay? Got things that you want to talk about? Any discussion on this? All right, seeing none, we will call the question. Okay, give it 5 more seconds. I think we're done. And the motion is carried. So thank you all very much. We will be sending out the entire PPT as a PDF. It is also live on YouTube if you need to review anything or look back on any of the discussions. So that will be recorded and saved live on YouTube. So you can always go back and review that if you need to. Thank you so much again. Our next meeting is Thursday, June 17th. We need as many DPAC reps as possible because this is the voting for or the conducting of the elections. And usually, I hate to say it's usually very short because I say that and then here we are 9 o'clock and we're all still here. So thank you all very much. Thank you to all our partners, to our trustees, to MRTA, to all of our partner groups for Chad, like everybody, and especially our PACs and parents and reps for all that you do in our community. And congratulations again to Kim. Um, Certainly has set the example for what we can be in our communities, and we can already see parents and PACs already doing that. So leave it better than you found it. Kim's done that, and that's all we can ask. So thank you very much, and good night.